Used to be a hustler. I used to be a runner. Came from the gutter. Now we be on that struggle. Used to be in a life full of crime. I gotta hustle and do whatever it takes to survive up in the jungle. Talking rock bottom from the gutter. I used to get in trouble, but now I'm beyond the struggle.
Hey everybody, this is Mark with Beyond the Struggle. I am here this evening with Chris Cordova. How you doing, Chris?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Hey, I just wanted to get you in on this movement that we're doing, and you reached out to me, and I'm very, very excited about that. So what I wanted to do this evening is kind of touch base on, your recovery and where you're at today, and pretty much the transition, and we'll go from there. And then at the end of this interview, we'll go ahead and touch a little bit about what you got going on in your life.
Sounds good.
All right, let's go ahead and let's start from the beginning. Where it all started for you, and then let the people know.
All right. Before we go in, is it cool if I go ahead and open up in prayer for this one?
Absolutely.
All right. So, Father God, we come to you tonight with open hearts and open minds, asking the Holy Spirit to step into this conversation that me and my brother Mark's about to have. Father, I know we're going to trigger some people with this conversation, and we're also going to open eyes to others. But Lord, we just ask that the Holy Spirit guide them, comfort them, and educate them on what we're trying to do and that we're just trying to help. So, Father, please guide us in this conversation. Take our words to make them impactful, cause an impact and shift in life for whoever's watching this. And Father, every time I come to you in a situation like this, I just ask that we just touch one soul. If we could touch one person, that's all I need, man. So, Father God, I appreciate you, and just guide us in the way you can, and your will be done. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So, for me, what it all started is I got the typical story of dabbling and stuff here and there. Started with weed, drinking, come from the streets, from San Diego, California, East County, San Diego, Spring Valley. And out there, what's crazy is that, you hear everybody's story, and it starts out, I was gang related at a very young age. Got jumped into the neighborhood back in junior high. Was probably the youngest cat in the neighborhood when this all started. And it's kind of hard to relate gangs to where we're at now back in those days, because back in those days, it was more family and more, there's a better, a different structure to it, not just rampant running around and acting crazy. So when I got into the gangs, my homeboys kind of looked out for me and guided me, which is crazy to say, because when you hear about stories like this, there's usually none. But I have to give my neighborhood some credit, because they pushed me to go to school. The older homeboys made sure I didn't do what I got into when I got older. But we messed around with some weed, messed around with some drink.
How old were you at that time?
That was probably 7th, 8th grade. So I was young, and the homeboys would always check me on that, no, you can't do that, you can't be doing that, you're messing up. And then as time went on, my gang life there ended in the mid-90s. I left home, came out here to Denver, had a couple kids, got married at a young age. My first wife from California moved out here with me. With my ties out there was just no way to try to raise a family or to even think about a family. Just with the dirt I did back then, there's just no way to even comprehend thinking that I could go anywhere with the family and be safe. But I moved out here, got out here, and when I came out here as a square. I had no desire to, I didn't want to meet nobody from gangs. I didn't want to, matter of fact, probably no one even knew I was gang related until probably 2015 out here. I was really quiet, everybody would act tough. You press the line, I acted up, but I was really, really family oriented. And when I got out here, stayed true to myself, but, just like the white cholo that, everyone made fun of. I think I told you earlier in the conversation, I was white enough. I wasn't white enough for the white people to like me, and not brown enough for the brown people to like me. But, here I am right in the middle. And growing up, it is funny, because through my testimony here, you're going to hear a lot of giving God credit, because when I was young, I never understood why I didn't fit in. I was always the youngest kid with the oldest crowd. I was always, I never fit the category I was supposed to be in. So as I grew up, I never understood that. Got out here, and I changed everything about me. I got into work, raising a family. And 1997, I kissed my wife and daughters goodbye on a road trip. They were going to San Diego to see her biological father that was dying of cancer. And that morning I kissed them, and, like every other man that's raised to be a man, you're told to be strong, show no emotions, and provide for your family. So as they took off to go to San Diego, I went ahead and stayed here because, rent's due. Can't get up and run.
Absolutely.
So when I kissed them goodbye, it was, I'll see you guys later. And got to work. My truck broke down. I was a tow truck driver at the time. My flatbed broke down. I got towed to a shop. I was like basically sleeping in the front seat of the truck, waiting on my truck to get repaired. And got a phone call that the police were looking for me. Get out of his truck. Whatever I did, don't affiliate their company with my business. And I was really confused because I didn't understand. I didn't do nothing. I showed up to work. Truck broke down. Come to find out that morning on the way to San Diego, my wife and 2 kids were involved in a single car fatality. And my wife and daughter died on scene. My daughter that survived, that she came out of it with nothing. But kind of rewind back, I kissed them goodbye, got a phone call. I listened to people frantically trying to save my daughter's life. Car rolled. When it rolled, it ejected my wife immediately. First, I forgot what they call it, the revolutions. So when you roll, it flips so many times and comes back down. So at the very second revolution, as it flipped and got force, it shoved my wife out and basically hit her and rolled over her. So she was dead on scene. My daughter was ejected from the vehicle and shot 575 feet. So from the middle median, crossed northbound traffic to come to rest on the median on the north side of the breakdown lane. So when they were taking her to the hospital, they got me on speakerphone. I'm in Denver. This happened in Raton, New Mexico. And at that point there was life as I knew it gone. So as I grew up, I didn't really get into drugs too much when I was out there active being a knucklehead. But when I moved out here, the stress of being a father, a husband, I dabbled like everyone else would, you know what I mean? A little weekend here and there. As I got into it, it became my crutch. So when all this happened, I turned to my choice of drug was speed meth. And I don't know if I'm ADHD undiagnosed, but it mellowed me out. So when I was doing it, as much as I tried, I wanted to be the guy that was walking around seeing things and just gone because I didn't want to face life at that moment. So when I got into it, that's where, I started to lose control of my drug use. And we all say like, I'm good. This don't control me. I got control over this. And like I was saying in an earlier conversation, I was a functioning addict. And I hate to put titles on stuff because when you give titles power, it kind of controls your narrative. But I did turn to it like when things got hard, and that was my crutch. So like a lot of people, when you had your father come home from work, he'd grab a beer, sit down on the couch, zone out. That was my beer. And as crazy as that sounds, it was very hidden because a lot of people up to this podcast probably never knew I used it. And as I used it a lot, I started noticing the control I had on it. So it went from, probably a $20, $40 sack to on the weekends to sliding into Monday to get me through the week, sliding into Thursday to get me ready for the weekend.
Now, is your other baby with you at this point?
My other daughter, Brianna, she did survive. And as we look at everything, like back then, I didn't understand like, okay, cool. God gave me grace with that because I think if I'd have lost all 3 of them in that car accident, I probably wouldn't be here today discussing it.
Understood.
So she survived. I was told that she would have some type of learning disability because of the severity of the accident. Now, picture back in mid-90s, 97, this is when it happened, April 30th of 97. They rented a car to go out there. They wouldn't allow me to get near the car because they were just like, this is so much devastation that you have to stay away. Like, you could come to town. I had to go down there, identify bodies. I had to go down, pick up my daughter. And I was told when I went down there that, and at this time I'm full blown, I'm spun out. I don't want to really face what I have to go down there to see. And when I got down there was a glimpse of hope. And this is like where faith comes into it. Because back then I wasn't a believer. I believed in God, but I didn't have a relationship with him. So when I walked into that room, I was told to brace myself that this won't be the good daughter I seen as I left town, when they left town. When I walked into that room, she jumped up, yelled, "Dad," and came and clutched onto me. And there was nothing. I mean, she had a pretty good like road rash from hitting her head on the car seat. But she had no other damage, no other physical, like, you know what I mean? And when I identified the bodies, my wife's head was pretty destroyed. She almost looked pregnant. And, like, it was like, you know what I mean? Like, you never seen that up close. So as I'm processing it all, I'm just telling my friend, like, you're going to have to go in there because if my daughter looks anything like the other two I just identified, I'm out. I don't want to deal with this. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not that strong. I'm gone. When I found out she was fine, I walked into that room. Everything that I was fearing was not there. You know what I mean? I did lose two people. I was 22 years old at the time this happened. My wife was 21. We were within a few months apart in age. She was 21, turning 22, or just turned 21. And my daughter was 2. My other daughter was 1. So they were like within 2 years, 2 days apart. So I picked up this kid and, go back to everyday life, as a husband and a father. I just went to work, man. I worked 6 days a week. I slaved to make ends meet. And I picked up this kid that I had no idea, like, hey, what's up? Who are you? You know what I mean? Like, I know, you know what I mean? Like, we know each other, but I don't know what she's allergic to. I don't know none of that. So as I'm going through life right there, the drugs kind of slowed down for me because like now it's time to man up, you know what I mean? And
Right.
and it's time to put it all away. But then little by little, it crept back into my life. So as I raised my daughter, I started using again, and just like everybody, like when you got some pain, you want to just make none. That's what you do. You dabble in your choice. Some people drink, some people smoke weed, some people gamble, some people do other things, but that was mine. So like when times got hard, I'd go back to getting high, and little by little, you know what I mean? Like I had about maybe 3 spurts of getting up there and then it would stop, getting up there and then it would stop, and I'd be able to like check myself and go. But when it got really bad for me is I got remarried, and I tried my hardest to act like I was healed, but I wasn't, man. You know what I mean? I was like, if I get remarried and raise my daughter, everything will be fine. But as a man, you bottle things up, man. And, a lot of people out there could probably, comprehend and understand this is that, men will bottle things up and say nothing's wrong with them until it's something wrong. And,
women do the same.
Yeah. And when I got remarried, I truly believed that I was ready to move on, but I wasn't. You know what I mean? I was still dealing with, like I was hurt, but as a man and coming from the streets, you know what I mean? Like you're not taught how to show emotion, because if you showed emotion back in those days, you were weak. So,
Right.
You know what I mean? I was very sharp tongued. I was very, very, very pushy, and it's my way. I don't care what you do. And as time went on, the drugs crept back into my life again, because as I'm not healed. I'm not happy. I can see in her face, she's not happy. My daughter's struggling, not healed. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of mistakes and regrets to that part of life. You know what I mean? And boom, I went back into it. So, like looking back at my life going through at this point in life, I was probably with 2 women that I had a relationship with. Up until the first wife, there was a lot of, the kid, you did your thing. None of it was serious. I got with my first wife when I was 17, 16. We were in high school living together. I went through that part of life. And then as my wife passed away, I remarried, and I met someone else in 97. Matter of fact, me and my wife wasn't really good on standing terms. And it's crazy because as I got a clear head now and I look, my wife, like, you know what I mean? Like everything's ordered. All your steps are ordered. So if you actually think that, you're going to go do some push-ups, not eat this food, you're going to live to 100. And it's not true, man. Everything's ordained. And no matter how much we want to try to act like we're in control, we're not. And when I got remarried, I thought this is life. Life's good again. We went through life. You know, I tried my hardest as a man to stand strong, support my family. And again, all kinds of regrets and bad decisions being made at that point. So when me and my wife, my second wife, as we started to have issues, the drugs crept back in. As much as I think I hit them, I'm pretty sure that I didn't. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that she knew what was cracking. And by that point, a separation kicked in. And at 40 years old, man, how do you explain that your heart broke? How can I call you as my homeboy? You know what I mean? And like, you know me from the streets, you know, this and that. The reputation I had, I was one that put in work, you know what I mean? So like for me to sit and say, I'm hurt over this woman leaving me, you know what I mean? Like all the emotions from my wife passing away to now this chick's leaving. And man, I blasted off, man. I couldn't handle it no more. And what we don't know is as men and as humans is that, you know what I mean? None of us are perfect. There's a lot of us will try to portray that we're strong when we're not. So, you know, they'll saying like, how you doing? How are you today? No one gives a crap what you say. You know what I mean? Like
it's a respect.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's kind of like an icebreaker. Like, what's up, dog? Yeah. And I'd rather just say, what's up, dog? Because if I say, how you doing? And you respond and I don't have time to listen to it, now I feel bad because I just triggered you into something. So back then when I was going through this, I didn't let nobody know there was no feeling. You know what I mean? Like I was numb to it. And so from the streets, they called me Woody. And every time that times got hard, Woody showed his face. And when Woody showed up, it was business. You know what I mean? Like I didn't care who I hurt. It didn't matter what I did. And so as the drugs kept going, when she left, I didn't know how to explain myself. You know what I mean? Like, how do I go to a counselor? Because as we're growing up, counselors are weak. Now I'm like, man, if you didn't have a counselor, you were weak, dude. Like if you couldn't, if you couldn't process this, man, like you know what I mean? So like, God, if I could have just put the macho thing away and just been a bitch for a minute, you know what I mean? And got the help I truly needed. Like, you know what I mean? Like I got to apologize. Like, and I'll take this right now. You know, anybody that I offended, man, I apologize, man. You know what I mean? Cause it wasn't me. It was a time in life that I was trying to struggle through, but I truly believe that God will sit you through everything. You know what I mean? And, let's tie drug use to redemption. And as my wife left, I spiraled out of control. I was probably using about $300 to $400 a week. And
where's your daughter at? Where's your daughter at this time?
At this time, my daughter's grown, moved out. You know what I mean?
You're by yourself.
And yeah, so like I went like, I don't even know how you explain empty nesting because I was barely 40. You know what I mean? Like the nest should have still been cracking.
I get it.
Dude, I had a 4-bedroom house and it was just me and the dogs.
Nice.
So I buried my head in work, you know what I mean? And I buried it and I put everything that I was feeling from the separation to the side and just grinded. You know what I mean? I was a repossessor. I was gone 24/7 chasing the commission. And I was killing it. You know what I mean? I was killing it. And then the more I did the drugs, I was killing it more because I was more focused. I didn't care. But when you finally bottle everything up and you put everything on the back burner, at some time the stove catches fire and you got to stop. And life came to a stop for me. Like I called my boss and I said, hey, man, I know I just made us $500,000 this quarter. I can't do this no more. You know what I mean? So like now all my financial responsibilities are gone. You know what I mean? I had everything that, like, I was the type of guy that if you wanted to give me a gift, it was just a handshake and a good meal and a conversation because there was nothing material I needed in life. You know what I'm saying? And I went to where I lost everything and it destroyed me because I worked so hard, you know, coming from the streets, coming up broke. You know, you take pride in what you do. And there was a lot of baggage I was carrying from my first wife to my problems in my second marriage to just life. You know what I mean? And I didn't know who Chris was. So things got bad. And, you know, when you go through a separation and divorce, I don't care what anybody says, man, that's the devil.
Yeah.
Because, you know what I mean? Like you're supposed to be able to forgive and forgive and forgive and forgive. And a lot, like at that time in life, you know, when I got told to forgive, I just giggled because I was like, nah, I'm going to stick it to this chick as hard as I can.
I know exactly what you mean with the forgiving part because that's the part I struggle with still sometimes.
So as I journeyed through this and I didn't understand forgiveness, I got lost in drugs. I mean, I was gone. Like, and it's crazy because people who knew me had no idea because I was so high for so long. You know what I mean? That it was just normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just me. And finally, when I was like, I got to set this down. I can't do this no more. Like, you know what I mean? My mental was gone. And, you know, any drug or any crutch that you turn to at some point in life will fail you. If you turn to your friends will fail you. If you turn to a drug to get you through, it'll fail you. If you turn to alcohol, it'll destroy you. Like, all this stuff is set up to knock you back. You know what I mean? And as much as our mind and our spirit want to, you know, battle, that's when the spiritual awakening opens. So I wanted to go to rehab. I have no idea why, because I'm not a quitter. You know what I mean? In life, you don't quit. You know what I mean? You work, and if there's not a way, you figure a way. And if, you know, if that don't work, I'm going to rob you to get it. You know what I mean? I'm going to continue to push. And this time in life, man, I was jobless. I couldn't find a job. I couldn't repair my marriage. I couldn't, you know, me and my daughter probably, I think at that point we weren't talking, because me and my daughter are the same person. So, you know, you figure a little feisty, you know, I think she was 18, 21 at the time. You know, we're already bumping heads. So that means, you know, that's even worse, because she don't understand what I'm going through. I'm too macho to tell her what I'm going through. So, I wanted to go to rehab. I truly did, because, you know what I mean? Like, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to rehab. And, every time I went, I saw the BS behind it. And I'm not knocking nobody, man. A 12-step program, a mentor group. I just want, well, I guess what my point to bringing this up is that all of our walks in life are different.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll take a friend to shake your attention. Sometimes it'll take God to get your attention. Sometimes it is rehab. And, you know, I applaud the people who do step up, because it is definitely a step in life that takes manning up to a point to where you never had to do that before. But I did. I manned up, and I got denied. I went to 2 different places, and because I didn't have money, I wasn't important. So that, you know what I mean? So as the devil put that into my head, you know, like, you're not important. No one cares. You know, my family was struggling because they don't know how to control me, man. I'm out of control. I'm a nut. And so I isolated myself, and I'm here to tell you that, you know, there's only 2 things that work in isolation, and it's the devil, and it's whatever the devil's planning for you. Where we're not made to be alone. We're not made to be separated. You know what I mean? There's a time to be quiet and be still, but you're meant to conversate with people. And if you notice, when people start to isolate themselves, it starts to go bad.
Right.
So through this whole process with the drugs, you know, I want to say I wish I had this crazy 12-step program and someone motivated me, but they didn't. And I think what God was showing me at that point was that man is not going to save me. I'm going to have to surrender. There's going to be some things I got to, you know, face and be accountable to. And so as I'm going through my drug use, I'm destroyed by the separation. I want to kill everybody I'm coming in contact with. I get a protection order put on me. And that's true isolation, because now who you speak to, and like, me and my wife were married we were going on 18 years at the time of separation. So I went from my first wife that died to the second wife. Now I can't speak to her. I know she's down the street. People are seeing her and telling me about it, but I can't speak to her because I'll go to jail. Yeah. And this is probably a point in my life where I guess, like, you know what I mean? I finally, okay, the gangbanging Chris is done. I got to be a man now. I'm 40 some years old now. How do you start stepping to be a man? You know what I mean? So I'm just going to go back to drugs. You know what I mean? I'm just going to go back. And then I went back. And, you know, I don't care if you want to call it a gut feeling, if you want to call it a spiritual awakening, you know, I mean, like, if you want to say it's voices in your head and your mental's not right, what I'm going to call it is I was under attack, and I didn't understand the attack, but I was a fighter. So, like, anything that came near me. So what happened is my mind on meth, as you can already call, is you start seeing crazy stuff. And when you're going through the separation, things aren't what it truly is, but you're going to call it that. You know what I mean? And so I went down a road where I felt like everybody's after me. And then here I'm bucking back. You know what I mean? I'm just going nuts, trying to, like, prove myself that I'm not. And I got to the point to where I was going to take my life. I couldn't fix my marriage. I wasn't a great dad. There was a ton of shame. There was a ton of guilt. And don't ask me why, man, but I got on a website and I emailed a church that I went to that was closed. And, on the email, like the prayer request, I was like, forgive me, God, for what I'm about to do. I'll apologize to my family. I don't know what to do. Help me. You know what I mean? Forgive me for what I'm about to do, but I got to do what I only know. And that point in my life is where things really got crazy, because now I'm coming off the drugs.
What year we at?
We're at 2016 now. 2016 is when I said the prayer. I navigated the separation to the best of my ability. Went to court and was like not down with the way the lawyers wanted to do it. So at that point, I was just like, whatever. I had a cancer scare that really set me off, because the devil's like, you're going to die anyway, dude. You know what I mean? You're gone. So when I got that, I just went ham.
Did you end up getting diagnosed, or?
I went through and I didn't want to hear it, because my family has a very high cancer death toll. You know what I mean? Cancers took a lot of people out in my family. And but I've always told myself is if it's my turn, I don't want to deal. You know what I mean? I'm not going to acknowledge it. I'm just going to live my life. So at that point, I was just like, drugs are back in. Let's go. And I went ham as hard as I could. I honestly can't believe I'm not in jail, because of the dumb shit I was doing. You know what I mean? Like, it was just crazy. So I got to the point to where I couldn't fix a marriage. 17, I lost my house. I was homeless. I was sleeping in a park, sleeping in my car, sleeping. My dad was trying his best to be there for me, but with housing and whatnot that he was on, he couldn't be there for me. So I was in the streets. The only way I know how to be in the streets is back how I used to. You know what I mean? Back in the hood. So that part started to raise back up, but I knew deep down that that's not what. Because when I moved out here, I moved to change. You know what I mean? And I wanted to be different. So you know what I mean? Like, I can't blame this on my gangbanging days, because I didn't do all this when I was gangbanging. My homeboys kept me to a standard. And so as an adult, man, I got to where I was alone and couldn't fix nothing. So into 2017, man, I drove my Cadillac. I have a 93 Fleetwood on some center golds. And I drove that to a remote area with a brand new double barrel 12 gauge shotgun, brand new box of ammos, shot it off before we left. I got up there, put 2 rounds in, shot it, put another 2 rounds in, shot it, said my prayer. Again, I'm not a believer at this point, you know what I mean? But I'm praying to God, because deep down, I needed help. You know what I mean? I tried rehab. I got denied. I couldn't navigate. Like, if I couldn't pay for a bed, I wasn't worthy. So, at this point, I was like, I failed. I'm done. I'm gone. I put the gun to my head, said a prayer, pulled the trigger.
Wow.
You get hear. And I'm like, like the whole, like, the only way I could describe it is like in the movies, like you wake up and there's blood everywhere and you're outside your body. Nah, man, I was sitting in my front seat with even more guilt now, because now I got courageous enough to kill myself and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So imagine the anger. So, I told God, I said a prayer, I'm coming now. 2 more rounds, boom, out the window, 2 more rounds, boom, out the window, put it back to my head, nothing. And at that moment right there is when I heard God, and it didn't make sense at all, because now I'm 40 some years old. I'm crying like a baby. I've never cried like that. Even when my wife and daughter died, I never cried like this. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And it was a switch and a shift in my life, dude, that I understood now there's an assignment. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to get to it, but there's something on my life that I need, that I'm here for.
Yeah, yeah.
I kept the bullets in the gun.
You have a different calling, man.
I got 2 12 gauge buckshots that I keep in a box. So when life gets bad and I want to go backwards, I go back to that box and say, okay, your plan didn't work.
Right.
You got to here and it still didn't work. So at that moment I surrendered. I said, God, take this. I'm done. I can't do this no more. I don't want to do drugs no more. I don't want, you know what I mean? Like, this ain't my life. You know what I mean? Like, the drugs was fun. It's not fun no more. You know what I mean? It consumed me. So, at that moment right there in life is when I do, like, don't ask me how I go from wanting to kill myself to wanting to call people to apologize. Instant. And, when that happened
was 2017.
2017. So, going into 2018, that's when I was done. I kind of felt like I was going through an intervention. You know what I mean? Like, I could see people's tension from them. Like, they didn't know how to deal with me. They didn't want to deal with me. I didn't want to deal with them. At January 2018 is when I handed my bag of meth and my pipe to my dad and said, here,
okay,
whatever you want to do, that's on you. I had another pipe because I was like, you know what I mean? There's still that little dumb guy in me that's like,
The
I'm gonna-
reserve.
yeah, well, the backup, because I can't
Yeah.
believe this is going to happen. But I gave him all that, and I said, but I'm gonna finish this, and I did. And at that moment that night, it was the most. It was horrible. You know what I mean? Like it didn't do what it used to do for me. So as I step forward into this new, now I got to get a job. I got to start acting right. I got some people to apologize to. Like I still got to navigate the separation because I'm still going through the separation. And as that unraveled, November 2018, I got a phone call from my wife, and she dropped some stuff on me that now makes sense. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't the nice guy, and I wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a lot of accountability at that point. You know what I mean?
Right.
So as I'm going through this, at 2018 is when I found the church that I used to go to that moved to San Diego. And now, if you don't believe in God, the story will at least give him his glory. So he ended up in my old neighborhood in San Diego and opened up the bishop that I was under. In 2006, when I first found out, my wife stepped out on me and we went to church, and I was just like, you're not going to use God to protect you for your lies, whatever BS I had at that point. But that pastor, that bishop opened up, he left Denver and opened up in San Diego County. So I had a homeboy message me, and he's like, you won't believe this pastor that I'm going to this church. And I'm laughing because me and him did dumb stuff together. So like now you're in church now. So that's cool, dog. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like even though everything I experienced, I still didn't understand religion.
Right.
So church to me was religion, just wasn't relationship at the level of life I'm in now. But as we got to that point in life, 2018 in November, I got that call, and I was like, you know what? I can't do this no more, man. This triggering. So I'm going to go back to my crutch. God, I'm sorry. I'm going to let you down. I'm doing this. So, I told my dad, and don't ask me why, but my dad kept it. Who keeps, like, you know what I mean? Your son's out of control. Why would you keep this, man? But he kept it. And I told him, hey, do you still got that? Because if you don't, I got to go get some more. I'd rather just, like, if you have it, I'll just take that. And he gives it back to me. And I'm just like, hold on, man. How are you going to preach at me about drug use and then you're just going to give this back?
Yeah.
But, when I did it, I told God, like, I'm sorry, man. I get this. I'm not supposed to do this, but, you don't understand, like, this pressure on me right now. This accountability I got to keep right now just don't make sense. And this is my crutch. So God said, go ahead, homeboy, get down. Do it again. That was the worst 48 hours of my life. It wasn't fun. I did not, dude. I mean, I locked myself in a room and I seen the craziest stuff I've ever seen in my life. And like I said, I did this stuff since I was probably about 15 off and on. Dude, I don't know what happened, but God's like, go ahead, homeboy, you're tough.
Play games. Yeah, play games.
So, like how God said, test Job, he's got this. So I wasn't Job, man, but he told the devil, get this dude, like, get him. And man, that right after that point, dude, is when I was just like, you know what? I'm not no more. I can't. You know what I mean? I just can't. And I started getting into the word, and I started to understand that when the gun didn't fire, there's a reason why I'm still here. You know what I mean? And all of us that use, I used to be like, when people try to take their lives, I used to say that, you're weak, bro. Like, you can't deal with this, man. And God sat me down. You know what I mean? God sat me down with the homeless. He sat me down. And it's crazy, dude, because when I was homeless, man, I had some of the most caring people around me at the worst time of my life. Right. And if that's not God, I don't know what is. But I learned a lot of lessons. Like I had a man in the park talk to me that changed my life. I had a guy walking down the street just stop and acknowledge me, man, when I was like a ghost in this town. And the whole time I lived here, from the shirt you can see, I'm a co-founder of a lowrider club since '97. There wasn't pretty much anywhere I couldn't go that I didn't know somebody that I could pull over and just have conversation with. But at this point in my life, I couldn't, man. No, I didn't meet these people no more. You know what I mean? And when I was homeless, I used to always like, hey, you got a spare job? You got a spare change? You know what I mean? I always had a tight little comeback for people that were down and out. And then when God sat me down with them, man, it opened my eyes that, like, you know what I mean? The drug addicts, the drunks, these ain't people that are just choosing stuff, man. There's things that are out of their control. And that's when it started to click to me, man, that the story I have that I would never tell nobody needs to come out. And I think God gave me enough time in between the traumatic incidences and today to understand that and walk it through to understand, because like you can't share something with somebody that you don't even understand to try to help them. So like, you know what I mean? Like my whole attitude changed. I went from like, okay, don't talk to me to I'm going to serve you. Can I help you? You need something? Let me get that for you. You know what I mean? And God's such a gracious God that when I'm not worthy to be in this podcast with you today. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't sit back and say I did any of this. I don't believe I did none of it. I was just, you know, I think God set me down a path. And, you know, I think in recovery, we all have a different step. Like I was saying, you know, the 12-step recovery programs, the drug groups, men's groups. Man, I went to a men's group, dude, and I was just like, this is so gay. Like, I can't go kick it with a bunch of dudes. But there's reasons why these groups exist, man. You know what I mean? And as we struggle, could you imagine if I got into a men's group in 2018, I could have probably changed my whole life back then.
Yeah. Or if you had somebody that gave a shit enough to tell you that, you know what I mean, that these you need these foundations in order to succeed in your recovery and your processing and everything else, it would have helped.
And see, like a lot of people, like when I got on my car club page on Facebook, and I was just like, hey guys, I just want to tell you guys something. I'm 5 days clean. They're just like, okay. Because they knew what I was doing. You know what I mean? So like, I think a lot of the times when you try to reach out to people and it don't go the way you expect it, it's probably not supposed to go that way. So like, don't get discouraged. Like, you know what I mean? Like now when I'm on Facebook and I see, especially when you posted your video about this chat, man, it just lit me up, because it was just like, okay, this is what that journey is supposed to lead to share this story and to actually, you know what I mean? Because like if you think about it, a lot of people think, oh, I was just drunk, my dad beat me, I was this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I came from a divorced home. My mom was a single parent. My mom's strung out on meth now. And it's just wild that was my choice of drug, because I always told myself I'd never be like her. And then here I am. So again, God's going to set you down to experience things, because now you got to understand why these people are doing this. And it opens your eyes to a whole new world. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when all this happened, again, I'm not a Bible thumper at this point. You know what I mean? Like God did some amazing things in my life, and there's no way I can't give him his glory on it. But, that's when the work started. You know what I mean? And finally had to tell myself, okay, 97, I lost my wife and daughter. That's not permission to end my responsibilities in life. It's hard. You know what I mean? Like I know a lot of people that struggle with grieving, and it'll put you in places to where you could be a seed sower. You know what I mean? You could plant some, like, hey bro, I know you're going through some stuff. I'm not going to tell you I understand, but I'm here and I can move on. And through this process, a lot of the stuff that I've gone through now is doors opening to where, you know what I mean? Like God will let you experience something to keep building. You know what I mean? Like if God wanted to kill you, you'd be dead. You know what I mean? Like if you think you did so wrong that God can't forgive you, he don't need you here. You know what I mean? Like it's an honor to know that he respects you enough to care for you, but it's not a privilege that you could run your mouth about it and not act like he's not deserving.
Right. And we all have big purposes, you know what I mean? And coming through a life of trials and tribulations, you know what I'm saying? My brother told me a few weeks ago, and it really hit home, because, you know, I sit back and I'm like, man, you know, it seems like you go through so much, whether you were using drugs or running the streets. And it's like, okay, so now everybody's like, oh, I'm sober. I got this. You know what I mean? Here we are with real life problems now. We got to make sure we're paying bills. We got, you know, kids that are doing bad, or we got to deal with family members that are doing bad. And the struggle is there, but it's on a different level. You know, I'm clear headed now. Yeah.
Well, you go from having all that animated to now this is dead in your face, and there's no covering it. It's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think where I'm going with this is when you learn, you know, I've been having this fire and this passion in me about this situation for a long time. And when you learn that, you know, you have to grind out, he calls it grinding out the rust out of it. You know, like when you get a lowrider, you got to get all that rust out to get the new parts in there, right? Yeah. So, you know, we think just like you had said earlier, you know, you think you had it all grinded out and you had it all figured out. And It wasn't, and I said that in that video. If you remember, like a couple videos ago, I had said that, as long as you leave something on the back burner, we're always going to go to the back burner. That's just the addict in us, no matter
Right.
what.
So like going up to this day, I told you when I woke up this morning. So like the last 8 years, I've been heavy in my walk with God. I don't believe in religion. I believe in a relationship, and I believe that that if you ask for it and you believe in it and you have faith that it'll come. I don't want to sit here and try to say, God saved me because I'm worthy. I'm not. You know what I mean? Like I surrendered. I put in the work, if you want to call it that. I dealt with some things that needed to be dealt with, and the old me that was turned into the drugs cannot exist in the new me. And a lot of us don't fully comprehend that when you want to get sober, right? It's a life changing. No matter how hard you want to try to act like it's not, you have to change your attitude. You have to change your surroundings. You have to, you know what I mean? Like, by God's grace, I still keep in contact with some people. And it's not because I think that I'm better than them, but because in my eyes, I have to prove to myself that I can exist with this. You know what I mean? Like if I run from it, it still has power. If I confront it and I'm in a room with it and it don't bother me no more, then I know in my mind that it's gone. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I put myself in some situations that was daring, but to prove to myself, like, you know what I mean? So like, as I went to get sober, a lot of people think that they need permission from somebody or they need validation from somebody. And as I went through this walk and, like there's triggers that will trigger me and I'll think back, man, when I got this news before, I just blasted off, man. I called homegirl, get some, you know what I mean? And do my thing. And I started to notice that when I don't give the power to that anymore, that, you know what I mean? You start to, you know what I mean? And it's cool to, and I don't want no one to think that, like, hey, if you get sober, there's everybody's recovery is different.
Absolutely.
Some are going to get kicked out of rehab 10 times OD. And I pray that you don't have to go down that road, but there's something that you're not surrendering. And until you surrender it, because all those years I held on to this drug because this drug was my God. And that's the only way I could put it now to where I could understand it, because it wasn't at that point, it wasn't, but really it was, because whenever I had trouble, I turned to it. I didn't turn to God. I didn't turn to, you know what I mean? So like a lot of people think that, hey, I'm going to call Mark real quick and tell him I'm getting sober and life's going to change. It's a great stepping stone, and I will applaud you and I will cheer for you and I'm rooting for you from afar. But you got to understand that whatever you're going to do, just like you said about the lowrider, getting the rust out of it, there's going to be some times where like, this car sucks. I hate this car. But you're 30,000 into it and it sits in a storage unit. But everything has a time and a purpose, you know what I mean? And so as I got up this morning to pray on this podcast, because like, this story had to get out, and I've kicked it a couple times in some in a men's group in that church once, but this is a platform where like, excuse my language, but my shit's on the table.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Hey, Chris, I want to let you know, I really appreciate you, man. It's an honor meeting you. I can't wait to meet you in person. I feel very honored. I want you to let you know that, not just because we're on here, but I told you earlier too. It's a great story, man, and it's awesome that you trust me with that, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I mean, I really do. It means a whole lot, and man, I really can't wait for all the people to hear your story, brother.
And when I tell the story, I don't want to act like I have the answers, because I don't, man. You know what I mean? Like, I talk to my pastor on a regular, but I will tell you, and I'll pass one thing on that my pastor said. And see, there's going to be a lot of signs and a lot of things that need to get your attention while you're going through this recovery. And the one thing that I think I learned for myself that I struggled with is that I don't care what you do. If you're going to go to the gym, if you're going to quit drinking, if you're going to quit smoking weed, everything, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, but it's a 30-day process. Your mind has to reprogram. If you don't reprogram, just like the computer, if it's full of data and you don't delete it, it's not going to work. It could be the fastest computer you have, but until you push the right button, it's not going to work. And you have to put in work. Like there's no fairy tale. Like, I'm just going to say I'm done. And no, the devil's going to hit you every which way he can to try to, because the minute you step away from that, and I don't care if it's drugs, drinking, promiscuous dating, gambling, buying cars, low riding. I mean, anything that you idolize that's not God given will distract you. And when you gotta put your heart into it and go, know that you're gonna fail, because if you could do this on your own, like if I could have done this by just saying I'm done, I would have been done. When my wife died, I wouldn't have never touched it. But we're human, and you're gonna fail. And the one thing that my pastor said, and he didn't tell me this directly, but I know it was at me, is that I'm not going to tell you to quit doing drugs. I'm not going to tell you to quit doing anything, because I'm man. I'm not God. And he told me what he said, man, and it shook me so hard, dude, that I stayed quiet for a while. I didn't talk to anybody, but when I made that promise to God, you know what I mean? Like, for me and anybody that believes, once you make that promise to him, that there's accountability. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just sit there and, God, I'm not going to do this, and go do it, because he's not going to keep in grace on you. And when you live through what I did, that shows his grace. Even though I didn't want to accept it, he still gave it to me. So as I started to learn how to maneuver these triggers, I tell people now, like, I don't want you to tell me you're getting sober. I want you to tell him. I want you to tell because I'm man. I'm going to offend you at some point. I may not answer my phone. I don't want to be the reason why you don't succeed, but I want to cheer you on. And when he told me that, it didn't make sense when I heard it. But years later, after I've been in the book and I've been reading, that was the message I needed to hear. And I'm pretty sure I heard it a lot more. But like, the main thing I want to get out of this is that you don't do this for anybody validation or opinion. If you're going to get sober, man, figure out why you're going to do it. And I'm going to tell you straight up, the reason what clicked for me is when I was going through the separation, I heard a voice in my head that I had a child. I don't know if it was my daughter that was still here or what it was. What my mind said is that my wife was pregnant. Now I got a kid, and I can't be a punk for this kid. Like, this kid did not come into this world for me to be a crybaby punk on meth that can't handle responsibility. And it clicked for me. And right at that moment, I stopped everything I was doing, and I was like, do I have a child? I can't get pregnant. I don't care. Do I have a child? And they made fun of me.
Yeah.
You're all, you're spun out. You don't know nothing, but God is talking to me. You know what I mean? And the minute that you have something to live for, you could do anything. You know what I mean? Like, once you have a bit of hope and a bit of faith and you stand on it, no matter how bad things are, you know what I mean? I think me and you talked, we both been down a road that if you looked at our track record, you praise me today, but you wouldn't have stood next to me when I was going through it. Yeah. And that's understandable, because, you know what, if everybody understood how to fix this, there wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
So with that being said, I just want people to know, man, that, like, you know what I mean? Like, you could give this a shot. And I think Will Smith had it in a video. How many failures does it take to get to success?
Yeah.
And a lot of us think at 21, we're there. You know what I mean? Like, we're in life. I just hit 50. And I remembered hearing from my teachers that I probably wouldn't make it to 18. So every year past 18, I knew it was borrowed time. But now I know that it's not borrowed time, man. It's assignment. And the day I pulled the trigger is when I clicked for me that there's a reason for me to be here.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to spend every breath that I have living to try to figure out that reason. And to do stuff like this and to encourage somebody and to give them a slight bit of hope. Because I don't want no one to think that, like, overnight this clicked for me, man. I was down to nothing. I lost everything but a Cadillac, a Monte Carlo, and a basket of clothes. I put in the work. I believed in myself. I don't care if anyone else stood next to me. And I forgave the ones that didn't understand my process. And when I did that, it opened doors, and that's when life starts to come back. And the main thing I want everyone to just even try to grasp control of is anything that you want to validate goes back to the Bible. And in the Bible, nothing happened overnight. You know what I mean? Like, there was some sign and wonders, but we're not God, so we can't expect that. We can't expect that to come to us.
Right.
But I always heard growing up, your latter days are your better days. And I laughed because I didn't plan on living past 18. So I lived hard. I went fast. I did dumb stuff. And now I'm at 50. And I'm seeing that there's a peace in life that if you could grasp that piece, everything that you went through is worth where you're going to be today.
Absolutely. I like that, man.
And everything happens for a reason. You have to learn something, because if you don't learn it, you're going to struggle with it later. So if you can learn this while you're young, and I tell youngsters all the time, man, hey, get your bang on, dude, because I did. And I was good at it. But you're either going to end up in jail or dead. And I hope you end up in a California jail, so at least you get a free phone call to me, because I can't pay for your phone call. But man, there's so much more to life than what we understand and what we try to grasp to. So now in life, you know what I mean? I'm in a good relationship. I want to say it's a healthy relationship.
Nice.
And as we go through this, right, you start to think, okay, you know, where does God play a part? Well, the lady I met is going through the grieving process because she lost somebody. So now look at God set me into a spot where now I can help.
Right where you're supposed to be.
And I won't say, hey, I understand what you're going through, because most people that tell you that don't, but I do. So as we speak on this, and the gentleman that was before me and it was his wife, correct? The lady that was with him, to hear their stories, man, just dude shook me to where it was just like, you know what? If you put all of our 4 pictures on a lineup, right? Like the cops are looking at us, we all look different, but we all have a struggle and a tragic story that God's going to get his glory from. And nothing's over till it's over. You know what I mean? Like we could sit here and try to talk as much as we want, but you know, God has a purpose, and I just pray that, you know, that you figure out that purpose in life, and understand, man, that the drugs and the habits are just a roadblock for you, man. And once you hit that roadblock, man, there's something out there that's going to change your life, and it's going to all be worth it.
Yeah. So what I want to do, Chris, is if you don't mind, I really like this testimony, everything that we're talking about, and you got a great word, brother. So what I want to do is I want to invite you back later on, do another one if you don't mind, and we can get into some other stuff.
Definitely.
And then we could reach out. You know, maybe we could do a live one even if you want to, and maybe we could answer some questions if you're up for it. You know.
Oh yeah.
And, I think you got some powerful stuff here, and I think you can actually, you know, I think your heart's right in the kind of the help that I'm looking for, like, you know what I'm saying? And I think you're right. I think these paths meet for a reason, you know what I mean? And your support is great, and I can feel it, man. And I think we're gonna do big things. I think you're gonna do big things. So what I want to do is I want to circle back with you, if you don't mind. We can get together after this, talk, and then get you back on here, and maybe we could do something live and go from there. Definitely.
And you know, with that being said, I'm also part of a podcast called Conversations with the Mafia, and a lot of people think, oh God, gangs, this, that. But what Mafia stands for is men always functioning in assignment. Men living, you know what I mean? Like it's abbreviated. So men always functioning in assignment. So when we have an assignment, and that assignment in this group, in the podcast, is it's not recovery based, and it's not this, but what it is, it's like an online men's group. And what we do is we bring up conversations, you know, that I would like to, you know, reach out and invite to have you come sit down, and maybe have your brother that you spoke with that's in the word. And what we do is it's not church bound, but it's biblical backed. You know what I mean? Like we will go back to the scriptures, and it's got to go full circle, because like if we don't take care of each other, and we don't sharpen iron with iron, and we don't root for the ones that are recovering, how are we going to fix this? You know what I mean? So we're at a time in the road where, you know what I mean? It's time to quit saying I'm praying for you, and it's time to start acting. Yeah. So, you know, like anytime, like, you know, I want to throw this out there. Anytime that I can be of assistance to your podcast or anything that you guys got going on, you know, you got my number, and I'm always available. We're going to count you in. You want to take us out with the prayer? Sure. So, Father God, we come to you tonight, and the prayer is that just one person gathered, even a seed from this. I don't want to bear the responsibility of changing them, but Lord, I just want to plant a seed so then they could turn to you, and that you could open this up and definitely do some signs and wonders that they need in their life. Lord, help someone who's struggling, going through addiction, and let them know, don't title yourself, man. You're human. You're a child of God, even if you don't want to believe it. But Father, just reach out to the ones that are hurting, to the ones in rehab, to the ones that have passed away, the families that are struggling with the loss, the families that are struggling with active addiction. And Lord, we just ask that you open doors, you heal hearts, and you comfort souls. Just utilize us, Lord, as your vessel to get this message out at any time it needs to go. have your way with this, Lord. Until the next time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen, brother. Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you.